All right, so if you guys have been following this story goes on and on and on and on. So I don't even care anymore at this point. I'm gonna say where I am. Most people knew what stores I went to. This is Poughkeepsie. I went to the Poughkeepsie store on Thursday of last week. So if you didn't watch that video first. That will tell the story up to that point. The second video that you guys saw, I took a picture in front of another store. That one was in Danbury, Connecticut. But the second issue I had was at the store in Middletown. So the store in Middletown, I tried to call the store. Well, if you ever try to call Best Buy, just an FYI, I don't know if they'll change this in the future. You used to be able to actually call the Best Buy that you wanted a product at, and you would actually be able to talk to somebody. Well, you can't do that anymore. When you call Best Buy now, you're calling Minnesota. So I don't remember how long it was before I visited the store, but basically what I did was I called the customer service number. It was a couple hours before I went to this Best Buy, and I called what I thought was the store, which ended up being in Minnesota. And I said, hey, I'm interested in the camera. Here's the SKU number. Can you tell me if you have this in stock? Well, it was and I explained it was an open box. They told me that he started reading all the stuff off. He's like, he goes, it might be missing some non-essential items like the box, the instructions, things like that. I'm like, this sounds really weird and really familiar. I said, well, I'm interested. He's like, this is the one that's closer to you in Poughkeepsie. He's like, you should check that one. I said, I already saw that one. I want to see the one in Middletown, New York. He's like, okay, so let me look at this one. It's a little bit cheaper. It's like $50 less, but it might be missing some essential items like a charger or battery, plus a box and things like that. And that's why it's a little bit less expensive. I said, well, can you put your hands on it and touch it? He said, oh, no, sir, I can't. And I said, where are you located? And he said, I'm in, I think it was Minnesota. I think that's where Best Buy's headquarters are. So I'm like, well, can I talk to someone in the store? Unfortunately, I don't have the ability to do that. Guy's name was Sean. Very, very nice guy. I said, all right. He's like, but it is there in the Middletown store and it is in stock. I said, I live an hour away. I said, but if it's in stock, I'll go ahead and go down there. So I drove an hour away to Middletown, New York, in my Ram 1500, which is a V8 Hemi, not very fuel efficient. And I drove down there, and I get to the store. It was like 8:30. As soon as I walked in, I went to the guy in the front. You guys know the guy in the store. There's always got somebody watching the cameras. And I said, hey, I'm looking for an item. This is the SKU number. And I'm going to go in my car this way you guys can hear me. I said, I'm looking for an item. This is the SKU number for that item. I said, can you help me, help me with this? He's like, what I'll do is I'll page somebody to come back and help you. I said, oh, okay, no problem. I go over he points me over to the camera section, and I walk over there, and there's nobody over there, and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to wait over here. So then I start wandering around all the, 2 or 3 aisles they have over there in cameras, looking at tripods and memory cards and other little nonsense. And I'm like, nobody's coming over. So this store, I don't know how to turn that light on. This store has a beeline for the security guard. So from the camera section, so I could see him, he could see me. He looks over at me after maybe somewhere between 10 and 15 minutes, and he starts walking over. He's like, nobody came over? I said, no one came over. And then he walks over to, there's a guy standing right there in the TV section, and he goes, hey, could you help this gentleman with cameras? He goes, yeah, sure. I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me. They asked somebody to come over to help. This guy's staying over by the TVs, doesn't come over, which is like right on the other side. I didn't even see the guy. And he comes over and he helps me. I said, yeah, I'm looking for this camera. Here it is. He goes and looks it up. He said, all right, I'll be right back. Goes in the back, what they call now, I know all these terms now for Best Buy, the warehouse. So he goes back to the warehouse, 10, 15 minutes go by, and see the guy. Start wandering around. I'm like looking at other stuff, looking at Nintendo Switch games and stuff like that. And guy doesn't come back, but I keep looking over to see if he comes back. Nothing. So then I start chatting and BSing with another guy over there. I'm like, yeah, man, what I've gone through. I was like, there's no chance it's in one of these glass cases. He's like, yeah, probably not. He's like, yeah, it doesn't make any sense why I don't keep stuff in the cases over here. I'm like, yeah, that's weird. So I'm chatting with him, and I'm leaning on TVs, and a manager walks by, a woman, and I said, hey, you want to buy a TV? He's just joking around, and she doesn't even laugh. She's like kind of sarcastic back, and me and him keep talking. The other guy finally comes back, and I see him jet for the front. He went to the front first to look in a warehouse also in the front, wherever they keep inventory in front, to search all over for this camera. Can't find it up there. Now it's after 9 o'clock. They're like, oh, we won't close the store. You know, we're going to try to find this camera for you. Finally, it's like 9:05, and, you know, now the store's closed. And this loss prevention guy was awesome there. And he's like, no, you can stay a few minutes. It's not a problem, not a big deal. We're going to find this camera for you. And guy finally comes back with another guy, and he's like, guy that has a key to all these glass cases below the cameras. They open up all the cases. They're totally empty. And they leave them empty. They're right below the cameras, but they keep them empty because of security theft reasons, even though there's locks on them. Which we all know how theft goes, and I get it, but like, what's the point of having the cases if you can't even lock them and have them there? There's no point. And they just did a reset. So he said, you know, I think because they did the reset, they put the camera somewhere and we can't find it. I'm like, this is ridiculous. I said, I just drove an hour here. I spent 40 minutes in the store. Now I have an hour drive home. I'm like, this is crazy. So I now go to leave the store, and I was like, you know what? Let me just talk to a manager real quick. Right before I leave the store, he's like, so he brings me up to the front. The manager that was over by the TVs as she was walking by, the sarcastic one, is the manager. And she goes, sorry about that. Like not like totally ungenuine. And I'm like ticked. I'm like, are you serious? Like, that's it? I'm like, all right, I'm leaving the store. So I leave the store, and you know, it's after 9 o'clock now. I wasted now almost 3 hours on this whole thing, and another 3 hours on top of the hours that I spent at the Best Buy in Poughkeepsie. And I'm like, I'm going to call customer service back. So I call customer service back, the Minnesota. They actually answer the phone after 9 o'clock. I happen to get the same exact guy that I originally talked to. And I was like, I know you probably don't remember this conversation. I said, we share the same name. That's the only reason why I remember your name. I said, it's crazy that I got you. I explained the whole thing to him. And he's like, that's crazy. He's like, I'm so sorry about that. He's like, I wish there was some way I can compensate you. I was like, is there anything you could do? Like, you know, like, this is the whole reason why. If the stores just picked up the phone and could confirm that the item is there, that's all I would have wanted before driving an hour there, 40 minutes in the store, and an hour home. He's like, yeah, I get it. You know, they disconnected the phones for the stores. Even one of the employees said he can't even call in. He can't call to the store and call in. I don't know how they call in, or if they get sick or whatever. But that's what I was told by an employee at the store. So now I leave the store. After I get off the phone with the employee, he's with the customer service rep in Minnesota. He suggests something that I never would have expected anyone to suggest. He suggests that I email this person, Connor, and I don't remember their last name, who is the CEO of the company. I'm like, I'm not doing that. Now, keep in mind, this is Saturday. So now I'm frustrated. The camera's discontinued. I can't get a brand new one. But I want this camera because I like this camera. I want to have better images, better video, although other people have said the video's been fine. I want better storage. I want to be able to take memory cards out. So I'm like, all right, I'm done. I go home. Sunday rolls around. My daughter and I go and do a couple things. We go and shoot a couple videos with the phone down in Connecticut. And I'm out in Connecticut. I pass by a Best Buy. I'm like, all right, let me just stop in. So I go into the Best Buy. Now, I know they don't have the camera in stock, but I was like, all right, let me look around. Let me see what else is there. So I go over to the camera section. This is crazy. There's actually people working in the camera section at that Best Buy. And guess what? There's cameras in boxes in the cases below the cameras. Crazy, right? Isn't that crazy? So the guy who's there's two people there. One in a blue shirt, which is the Best Buy employee, and one in a black shirt, which is a Sony rep that I've been told doesn't actually technically work for Sony. They work for a vendor, and some long story about, like, they get some training, and that's basically it. So I'm waiting. I go, they're busy talking to a customer. Like, all right, whatever, I'll walk somebody somewhere else, then I'll come back. So I came back like 10 minutes later, and I start talking to them, and they're like, sir, did you need some help? I said, I do. I said, I'm looking for a camera. He's like, all right, let me get somebody to help you, because we're going to be with these people for a little while. I said, all right, no problem. Someone comes over, and I said, hey, I'm looking for a camera. I said, I'm looking for this one. I said, I know it's not in stock. Is there any way you can get it? No, it's discontinued. We can't get it for you. So this time I'm on the other side of the case of the Sony rep, and the Sony rep, it's a counter size case, like a little bit above the waist. So he can hear me, and he says, oh, what do you want that camera for? You could get one of these new ones. I said, well, I kind of like the handy cams. The other ones are like the size of a phone, but like this thick. And I was like, I really don't like those. There's no way to hold on to them and stuff, and I'm not a big fan. He's like, well, those cameras, those new other cameras are out of date, and this one's much better. I said, oh, really? I said, you know, he's got the Sony shirt on, the Sony lanyard. I'm like, what's better about them? He's like, I don't know, but the old ones are discontinued and out of date. This is this person that is trained to handle Sony. I'm like, wow. So here we are, comes to Monday. Monday, I'm like, you know what? I'm sitting at work. There's absolutely nothing going on. I'm aggravated with this whole thing with the camera. I go on the website. The camera says it's in stock. And in fact, they lowered the price. Okay. Of both the cameras, the one in Poughkeepsie and the one they can't find in Middletown. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm just going to go buy this one in Poughkeepsie. So, of course, I can't call Poughkeepsie, which I knew it was in stock because I saw the camera. So I'm like, all right, as soon as I get a chance, which is today, which is Thursday night, I leave work at 6:30, go home 7:30. I probably got to the Best Buy around 8 o'clock. I go in the Best Buy. I go up to somebody and ask for some help. And finally I have somebody, and the girl does not seem confident at all. I said, listen, I said, I was here Thursday. I touched this camera. I said, I'm interested in it. I said, it's an open box. I was very clear about it. It's in a plastic bag. And I said, you know, the battery wasn't charged. Is it possible for you to charge the battery? And I'll go in the mall for a half an hour, find the camera, charge the battery. And this way I could test it out. She's like, I'm not sure I can open it up. I said, no. I said, it's already open. It's in a plastic bag. I have a picture of it, in fact. I'll show it to you. I'll put a screenshot in here. So I touched the camera. It's in a plastic bag. You're not opening anything. It's an open box. Do you get what an open box is? And I wasn't rude. I was, I didn't say that to her. But, if you could plug it in, charge it, I'll come back in a half an hour. So I walk around the mall, and I come back, and I said, I think you're the girl that helped me, right? She's like, yeah, we couldn't find the camera. I'm like, you got to be freaking kidding me. Here we go all over again. So I'm like, this camera's got to be here. So I talked to her. I said, listen, can I talk to one of the managers that are here? Manager comes up, not the one that helped me on last Thursday, somebody else. I explained to him the whole thing. I said, and I was even honest with him. Maybe I shouldn't have. I said, hey, can I? I even wrote an email to the CEO, explaining my experience. I said, you know what? I've always loved Best Buy. I was actually, to be honest, completely honest, I was a Circuit City guy until Best Buy closed. I loved Circuit City, and I didn't like Best Buy when they first opened. But then when you were left with no choice, we came to Best Buy. I wrote this email, and I'll tell you guys what's in the email. The email basically said that, I went to the store, I waited 15 minutes or so. Nobody came over to the cameras. So then I went up to an employee, asked for help again. Nobody came up again. Another 10 to 15 minutes passed by in the Poughkeepsie store. Then I left the store, came back a half an hour later, asked for help again, waited another 10 minutes, finally made eye contact with a manager. He came over and helped me. And then he went looking in the warehouse for the camera. So I explained all this. And then I drove to Middletown because they told me it was in stock. It wasn't in stock. Wasted gas, wasted 3 hours of my time. Came back kind of aggravated, frustrated. I like to physically touch things. I like to see things. I like to buy them in the store. I've tried not to buy items online just because of this exact reason, because I like to touch them. I like to make sure it's a good quality product. And I know there's other people like me. There's not a lot anymore. A lot of people shop online, shop on Amazon, stuff like that. But when you're spending like $600, you want to touch the item that you're buying. So I write the email, and I was actually shocked. I put my email at the bottom. I put my phone number at the bottom. An hour went by. This is Monday. I got a phone call from Best Buy, from customer service. I was shocked by this guy, Carlos. Carlos calls me up. Quickest conversation I ever had. I was shocked to get this phone call. He's like, I'm going to see what I can do for you. Blah, blah, blah. I said, that's it? I thought you were going to offer me something right now, like you had a resolution to this issue. And he's like, no, I'm going to see what I can do for you. I said, all right, no problem. See what you could do for me. So he emails me back. He said, this could take up to Thursday. I'll get back to you by Thursday. I think it was Wednesday. Or Tuesday or Wednesday, I got an email back from him and said, hey, you know what? We can offer you, sorry for the inconvenience. Hope this email finds you well. We can offer you a $25 gift card for your inconvenience. I probably got about 8 hours in this whole thing. You want to offer me a $25 gift card? At least throw the warranty in. That's $89. So I email him back. I'm like, I'm pissed now. I'm like extra pissed. So all this time I have invested, all the gas, all the time, you want to offer me a $25 gift card? Listen, I'm not unappreciative, but like for all the time I have in this, if you guys had just answered the phone at the store, we wouldn't be going through any of this. Like, it's like an unreasonable thing to offer somebody. So I write him back something like that, and he's like, I'm sorry, Best Buy doesn't compensate for your time, but we'll offer you a $25 gift card. Let me know if you're willing to accept that. I'm like, you know what? I thought about it for a couple hours. I'm like, you know what? I'll take the $25 because it doesn't seem like it's going to get any better. So I accepted the $25. So I'm like, all right, that was today. Let me go down to Best Buy. I don't have the gift card yet, but let me go down to Best Buy and let me go buy this camera. This brings us to today. This is already a 15-minute long video. So I go into the Best Buy and I tell her I want the camera. They can't find this thing. Basically, long story short, they have 3 employees after I talked to the manager looking for this thing. Can't find it anywhere. I said I could tell you who originally touched it. I could tell you exactly where we were. I said, can you look at the cameras and see what happened? He's like, yeah, we could do that. Dude gets on the cameras while the other guy's looking in the back. I see 3 people walking around the floor looking for this thing. Checked every case possible. I even started looking around the store. I looked around the store and said, hey, is that it right there? There's bags right there. Is that possibly it? Like in all these different cases and cages they have on the floor. And it's funny because they finally found it, and I'll tell you how they found it. But even the cage that I suggested that it might be in, I had them look in that case. It was hidden behind another product. So one of the things I did is I went back to home theater, and there was a metal cage back there with PlayStation 5s in there and some PlayStation portables or portals, whatever. PlayStation Portal, I think you call it. Those things were impossible to find. Now they're all over the place. And I said, what about in there? He opens up the one side of the case. It's not there. I'm like, all right. So I didn't have him open the other side of the case. And it's see-through. It's metal mesh. And I'm like, all right, whatever. So then we're over at the cameras, and he's looking at the cameras. The other guys are looking around the store. And I told him what time I'm there. He finally finds me over at appliances where we're discussing about the camera because we're looking at the price and stuff like that. And the guy goes, I found it. He's like, I found it where the guy put it. The guy put it in he must have got distracted. It looked like he got on the phone. He got distracted, walked over to a home theater, which the camera does not belong in home theater, put it in a cage behind PlayStation 5s. These guys were searching for this camera for over 2 hours, and they found it right there by this one employee, again, 3rd time, with the same name as me. And he found it. He found the freaking camera by watching the security cameras and seeing where he put it. Finally found it. Craziest thing. And so they rang me up, $428 plus tax, and then I bought a 4-year protection plan for $89.99. The Geek Squad came over to me because I've had such bad luck with this camera, explained the whole thing to me. I don't usually buy warranties on electronics. I usually don't have this problem on cars. I always recommend them because that's what I do, because there's too much crap in cars today. And he rings me up. I get the 4-year protection. The guy from Geek Squad comes over, explains to me how it works. And even though I only paid $428, they're going to do repairs on it if it breaks, even if I accidentally handle it. For the next 4 years for $89, up to the retail price of the camera, which was $950, which is insane. So I bought the 4-year plan, and hopefully nothing goes wrong with this camera, but Best Buy, you're falling apart, man. I don't know what's going on with the stores. I love shopping in person. Please fix this. I want to continue to be a Best Buy customer. I want to continue to shop in the stores, but what a disaster. What a disaster. And a lot of this could have been resolved by keeping your stuff in locked cases, knowing where stuff belongs, and answering the phone at the stores. So someone needs to fix this. So if anyone ever watches this from Best Buy, higher ups, please, I want to shop in stores. You will, once these Best Buy stores go away, you are forever going to lose a customer, because I am a in-person purchase customer, and if I can't see it and touch it, I don't want to buy it. So Best Buy, please fix this. End of my rant. Hope you guys enjoyed this series of this whole phenomenon going on. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.